Welcome students. Today we are going to discuss two topics in chapter 4. The first topic is matrix organization and the other one is decentralization. Let's start with the meaning of matrix structure. By the meaning, this is the structure in which people and the resources are grouped in two ways simultaneously by function and by product or the project. Now, these are the employees who report to two superiors by the product manager and by the functional manager. So, as you can see in the picture that we have general manager and then we have two flows of responsibility, that is we have vertical flow and the horizontal flow. And when we talk about the functional department, we have four different functional departments, that is production, finance, marketing and R&D, and three different lines of product, that is project A, project B and project C. Now the employees working in a production group has to report to two superiors, that is production manager and product A or the project A manager. Same way, employees working in finance group, they have to report to finance manager and the product A manager or the project A manager. Again, in a marketing group, the marketing group will be reporting to marketing manager and project A manager. Fourth one is also same way. Personal group is also reporting to R&D manager and the project A manager. So in this way, and the same is the case with project B and project C. So this is the matrix structure. This is how the matrix structure works. Now this kind of structure has certain advantages as well as disadvantages. Let's take a look at them. Starting with the advantages, it overcomes the problem of subunit orientation. Now what is this subunit orientation? In a simple way, when our people or unit in our organization will only think about themselves and sort to see things from their perspective. So this can happen, let's take an example, this can happen in a marketing, so that the people who are involved in marketing will not think about the finance part, they will invest hugely into the marketing but not acknowledge finance or R&D needs. So this structure helps in overcoming the problem of subunit orientation. Coming to the second advantage is, then it allows people to learn about other functions. So as you can imagine that if you are in production group, you will learn about finance, and because you are in the close contact with such a persons or the people from the finance department, and you will as well as learn about the marketing and R&D department also. Then the quick transfer of valuable employees. So if you are in project A and your managers are happy with you, then you are moved down to another project, that is project B, or to another division, where there would be, again if they are happy, they will move you to third project, that is project C. So there is a quick transfer of the valuable employees. Then comes, it promotes the concern for both cost and quality. So if the employee is in project A handling finance, imagine that employee would be concerned for both the cost and quality. How? Production manager or product manager or the project manager is going to push for the quality, as they want as high quality as possible, and on the other hand the finance manager is going to push on lowering the cost. So you are most likely to be going to concern about both. Now let's discuss the disadvantages. It lacks bureaucracy, standardization, and hierarchy. As in this structure, you can see that there is a horizontal hierarchy and vertical hierarchy, and then comes the general manager, which is the third hierarchy. So there is, and so basically this is a flat structure. So due to this there is a lack of standardization and hierarchy. Second comes conflict between functions and product manager. Conflict between functions and project managers. So it has a relation with the last advantages. The one On the one hand, every employee is going to concentrating cost and quality, but on the other hand, the conflict can occur because of this. And the third, finally, is it is hard to design and manage the relationship in this type of structure. Now, coming to the next topic of this session, that is decentralization. The term suggests it refers to a systematic delegation of authority through all the levels of management, meaning authority percolates down to the lowest level of the management, that is supervisory level. Authority is pushed down the chain of command, meaning managers working at every level of organization, that is top level, middle level, and supervisory level. Authority is delegated at all three levels. Authority, along with equivalent responsibility, is delegated to all the levels. The concept of decentralization generally be prevalent in large organizations where it becomes very difficult for the single or the few managers to handle the entire show. So it is basically stress upon the involvement of employees working at the middle level as well as the lower level of the organization. Now, what is the importance of decentralization? The first one is it develops the managerial talent for the future. Then it is a relief to top management. Then it develops initiative among subordinates. It facilitates growth. There is a quick decision making, and there is a better control. Let's discuss in detail. The first one, it develops the managerial talent for the future. Now, how it develops the managerial talent? See, in case of delegation, maximum amount of authority being retained by the top level. Now, here in case of decentralization, authority is being delegated to middle level managers also and supervisory level also. So they also get an opportunity to exhibit their talent by taking decisions which are going to be beneficial for the organization. They also feel a part of the organization when they are involved in the process of policy making. Second is relief to top level management. Now, by delegating the routine affairs, only certain areas, when we talk about like zeroing down to the main objective of organization, these areas are to be taken care of by the top level management, and the rest of the affairs can be managed by the middle level and the supervisory level. As the rest of the affairs are managed by middle level and bottom level, then the top level can concentrate on more important aspects, that is how to grow or how to expand and so on. The third one is it develops initiative among the employees. It it's only when you are given in an opportunity to prove your talent that you will take up the initiative, that is you will initiate an innovation, maybe in a process of working, or maybe by giving new ideas, or maybe by innovating uses of existing product. You will take up such an initiative only when you are given the due recognition for your efforts. It is very rightly said that any responsibility given to an employee is an organization in an organization without the requisite amount of authority will render the employee ineffective. Then it facilitates growth. How does it facilitate growth? Because at all levels, in different departments in an organization, they are going to be in competition with one another to supersede one another, meaning to outshine one another. Now, when you are in competition, both of them are going to try for the excellence. All the departments are going to strive for the excellence. It will lead to successful accomplishment of organizational goals. Next is decision making is quick because desired level of authorities is been delegated to every time. You don't have to report the matter to the top level management for the decision to be taken, because that used to waste lot of time. So decentralization of authority is led to quick decision making. And the last one is better control. Why better control? Because the performance of each manager at each level can quickly be judged and the corrective measures if required can immediately be taken, so it leads to a better control. Hope students you are clear with today's topic. Thank you.